We are Southeastern 16. I'm Chase Robinson. Glad you are back with us. And we're going to talk more SEC football today. And we're going to talk about the Kentucky Wildcats. Aaron Gershon joins us. He is with Cats Paws 24/7, catspaws.com. They cover Kentucky sports as well as the Believe in Kentucky podcast. Aaron, I know it's a busy time up there. Of course, basketball season wrapping up, but spring practice going on for the football team. And especially after last year, things obviously not going the way I know Kentucky fans would have liked for them to. The coaches, the players would have liked for it to. What's the vibe around Kentucky's football program right now?
Yeah, I'd say from a fan perspective, it's a lot of wait and see, right? The last 3 years, there's kind of been more so in 2022 and 23. I think last year there was excitement as well, but there was a lot of excitement. You know, they brought in a lot of big names from the transfer portal that a lot of schools, frankly, that have more prestige on the football side of things were after, and they only go 7-6. And then last season, you added some big name transfers such as Jamon Dumas-Johnson. Brock Vandegrift at one point was a really highly coveted high school quarterback prospect, but you had a lot of returning guys, especially on that defensive side of the ball. You had Dane Key and Barryon Brown going into their junior years, and you felt like, okay, we could really do something. And they had their worst season since Mark Stoops' debut year of 2013. So, the fan base wants to see results before they buy all the way in. But, the vibe around the program and visiting with the team during some of the media sessions here this spring is they're kind of ticked off with how last year went. They really want to prove themselves this year. And, they have a much different look. I mean, once we get all the freshmen in that have signed and aren't enrolled yet, so that's about 9 or 10 more, it's going to end up being where Kentucky has over 40 new players from last season, and that's over half the roster, or close to half the scholarship roster, if not all, if not more than half. So it's a whole new look, but the guys who were here last year that are back are very much determined, very much have a bad taste in their mouth, but the fan base is kind of in a little bit of wait and see mode, which I understand.
Well, at the quarterback position, it's been a different name. I feel like the last few years, Zach Calzada has transferred in, and I know fans who've been watching SEC football know that name. He's been at several different stops. What made Kentucky go get him? How is he going to fit? What's that going to look like for the Wildcats?
Yeah, I think they wanted to get a quarterback that was a last year senior because they believe long term that Cutter Boley is the answer there. Cutter Boley started the Louisville game last year, got banged up. Actually, I think he left the game with a concussion, but so didn't do much there. But he played the second half of their game at Texas and really did some good things. I think completed just around 60%, if not more, of his passes. Had a really nice throw for 38 yards on the run to tight end Willie Rodriguez and got them down to the goal line. They couldn't punch it in, but did some really good things against the number one defense in the country at that time. Played the second half against Murray State, who obviously the competition wasn't great, but he really lit them up. So, he's a 4-star high school prospect at one point, a guy they beat out Tennessee, USC, and Florida State and Penn State for. So, a guy they really feel has a great future. So with Calzada, they kind of wanted a bridge guy because Boley's probably not quite ready to be the full-time starter yet. Calzada is going to be in his final year of eligibility. He's coming off 2 incredibly strong years at the FCS level. He was the conference player of the year in his conference last season at Incarnate Word, and all the numbers were career highs. He had his best year running the football of his college career, and he has experience, albeit it was a while ago now, in the SEC as a full-time starter at Texas A&M. So I think the fact that he's an experienced SEC starter, the fact that he's in his last year of eligibility, it's not going to be something that scares away Cutter Boley to, consider the transfer option, which, is kind of, it's very important to keep your guys happy in this day and age, as you know. So that's kind of what they're looking for there. But they believe that Calzada's experience, the zip he has on the ball, his ability to escape the pocket and make things happen with his legs, make him a good fit for Bush Hamden's system, and a good guy to be here to mentor Cutter Boley and eventually hand the keys over to him.
So who are some guys, whether receiver, running back, this spring that you feel like are going to be guys to watch in the 2025 season?
Yeah, the first guy that stood out in the open practice that we got to see last week was Kendrick Law, the transfer from Alabama, who you go look at his 3 years down there, and he was one of the highest graded, if not the highest graded blocking wide receiver in the SEC. Has a lot of speed, but didn't really get the opportunity to kind of put it on display with some of the just absolute horses they had down there at Alabama in the receiver room. Just tough to beat out the Ryan Williams of the world when you're at Bama. But he's a guy that performed really really well in that open practice. It seemed like he was the guys that Calzada was targeting on just about every drop back. Seemed to be the first read. They're also hoping Jamori Macklin, who they got from North Texas last year, they put him in the slot and he kind of struggled in that position. Slash, the offensive line didn't hold up enough to really get a passing game going, and you obviously had Dane Key and Barry Brown on the outside, so he kind of was very much the third option last year. And then they moved him outside after Barry Brown got hurt, and he'd had a really strong finish to the season. Played really well at Tennessee, had a big touchdown catch in that game to keep it at one possession late in the third quarter. Had an 83-yard touchdown against Louisville. He's a guy that's going to play outside this year. He was an 1,000-yard guy at North Texas just 2 years ago. So they're hoping to get similar. Not I'm not going to say similar production to 1,000 yards, but hope to kind of unlock that North Texas, the guy he was at North Texas this coming season. And then at running back, it's going to be really interesting to see who wins that battle. You bring back Jamarion Wilcox, who flashed for sure at times last season, was one of the few bright spots slash guys you're really looking forward to see develop coming into next year. You bring in Dante Dowell, the transfer from Nebraska, who was a starter last year, really good in the short yardage situations. But Jason Patterson, a redshirt freshman who played in 4 games last year, got nicked up, probably would have burnt the red shirt had he not got hurt, is the guy that's kind of stood out in spring ball so far. He got most of the reps of the ones in the open practice we saw. He kind of similar to Ray Davis, catching a bunch of passes off wheel routes and really looked the part. And he was averaging over 5 yards per carry in his limited sample size last year, which he concluded against South Carolina and their really good defensive line. So those are the guys I'm kind of watching right now, especially Law and Patterson, not a new face, but a guy who hasn't played too much, and now Law, coming in here from Alabama.
On the defensive side of the ball, what can fans expect just from what you guys have gathered through the spring?
Yeah, it's the defensive line's new, where that's the one thing that's been pretty consistent with Kentucky the last several years. I mean, Deion Walker was here 3 years, Octavius Oxendine was here for 5 years, Trayvon Ripka was here for 4 years. I mean, a lot of guys that have kind of been the staples of their defensive line are now out of eligibility or went to the NFL draft. I don't think any of the key guys ended up portaling out, but guys who expired their eligibility. So you bring in David Gusta. He's kind of going to be the anchor. Transfer from Washington State, was a guy who was top 25 in the portal. He is really, really a good finesse guy, but he's on the smaller size. I mean, he's going to be playing the same position Deion Walker did, and you're dropping about 4 inches of height. But he definitely looks the part as a finesse guy, and had really really good numbers at Washington State, especially in the run game last year. You bring in Cam Olds, a transfer from Kent State, on the edge, Sam Green, a transfer from USC, on the edge. Those guys are going to play a lot, I think, at both at the end and outside linebacker. Defensive backfield wise, basically the same starting 4 as last year, given the fact Maxwell Harrison was hurt most of the year. So you have DJ Waller and JQ Hardaway as your outside corners, Jordan Lovett and Ty Bryant as the 2 safeties, and then the battle kind of in camp is going to be for the slot corner role. I wouldn't be surprised if you see them go add a transfer in the defensive backfield. I just think they're kind of a body short there. And then at inside linebacker too, that's another position on mine. Maybe the spring portal. You bring back Alex Safari, who's kind of played all over in his 3 years. He's played safety, he's played corner, he's played slot corner, he's played inside, outside backer. He's going to move inside full time this year. He played inside about the second half of last year. Did pretty well, but definitely some growing to do there as he adjusts to that position. Davian Rayner, who ended up redshirting last year, just playing 3 games, is going to be a redshirt senior that they expect a lot from, a transfer from Northern Illinois a couple of years ago. But that's another position they're a little bit weak as far as depth goes. So, it's going to look a lot different. Schematically, it's going to look the same, but it's kind of one where we're anxiously feeling out as well. It's just Kentucky's had a lot of similar. I think last year the number was 9 returning players starting on defense. This year the number's 3 or 4. So it's definitely going to be a much different look.
Yeah, absolutely. And just when you hear the coaches talk, when you've got had a chance to hear them, when you've got a chance to see it, like, what would you say are some of the things the coaches are looking at this team? Like, okay, this could be a strength of this team. This could be a weakness. Like, what's kind of the coaches saying about this team they have this spring?
I think the biggest thing is they feel much more confident for the first time in a while in the offensive line, because I mean they went out and invested a ton of money to try to shore this thing up. They're probably going to roll out 3 transfers at least in the starting lineup. The big boy from New Mexico State, his first name is slipping me pronunciation wise. We'll get there, but Pete, they beat out Vanderbilt to get him. He's going to start at left tackle. You bring in a starter, an all MAC transfer from Bowling Green to start at right tackle at 6'7". Joshua Braun, who's been around the SEC for a while between Florida and Arkansas, is going to be the starter at left guard. At left guard. And then Jalen Farmer, who actually played pretty well for Kentucky last year at right guard, who transferred from Florida, is back. And then center is probably either going to be, they hope it's Jagger Burton, I think, at this point. He's a guy that's been around this program for a long time. He's really, for the first time I've seen, looked the part in this spring practice that we got to see. He's put on some good weight and finally seems kind of ready in the right headspace, but he'll have to beat out Evan Wibberly, a transfer from Western Kentucky. And that's the good thing. You have depth there to where there is a position battle. And then they have other guys like Wallace and Bamba, who they brought in through the portal. Malachi Wood, they're really high on his future, and he got some valuable starting reps last year, even if he didn't play great. It's good to get those reps in. Abba Selim's a guy they're high on. So they're about 8 or 9 deep on the trust tree on offensive line, and they haven't been able to say that for a long, long time.
Well, it'll be interesting to see Kentucky football in 2025. You can follow Aaron Gershon and the folks there at catspaws.com, part of the 24/7 group, Believe in Kentucky podcast there for all your Kentucky news. Aaron, really appreciate your time today. We'll catch up with you again as we get close to football season, but thanks for coming on and talking some Wildcat football with us.
You got it. Anytime.
We are Southeastern 16. We got you covered. SEC football, basketball, baseball year-round. Subscribe if you have not already, and we will talk to you again soon with more SEC talk here on